Now and again, Christians use words that very few people use nowadays. One of those words is intercession. It means to intercede, yeah, but it actually means something quite important for the way we relate to the world and to each other. To intercede is to speak on behalf of someone else, to put yourself between them and whatever is troubling them or threatening them or a concern to them. One of my favourite writers describes the Christian prayer of intercession like this: to intercede is to love others in the presence of God, who is love. Now, if we ask ourselves, so what does that actually mean? We recently heard of a very dear friend of ours who has died. And one of the reasons that she was a dear friend and will be missed greatly is because we loved her, she loved us, and we knew that she prayed regularly for us. When she thought about us, she took her love to God and spoke to God about our lives, our needs as she understood them, gave thanks for the friendship that we had shared through many, many years. So intercession is a way of representing others in the presence of God. Now, we've just come through a really difficult year, not just as a country, but as a world. And there is a sense of helplessness, of the kind of helplessness that's so continuing that it begins to feel a wee bit like despair, and accompanied by emotions of sadness and diminishment and the sense that life is being suppressed. And you ask yourself, so what can we do? So you're in the supermarket and you're there with your basket or your trolley, if you're not using the self-checkout. And there's a checkout assistant who's been there for hours, seeing people streaming by, anxious, perhaps talkative, maybe not caring. Anyway, they are there at their job, serving us. And I suppose if I ask myself, how often do I go out with my trolley to the car and think, I must pray for that person who just served me? Or the police, who have an absolutely impossible job just now, trying to walk the tight line between enforcement and persuasion, and to do that in a way that keeps the support of the public rather than antagonising people. So when did you or I last pray for our policemen and women? And those bin emptiers, the hundreds of bins that they empty every shift, and warning people as they see them, make sure you wash your hands when you take your bin back in. We handle hundreds of these. Good people. And we should be praying for all of them, because to intercede is to love other people in the presence of God. Prayer lists. It's an old-fashioned idea that you would write down names of people to remind you to pray for them. But actually it becomes more than just a prayer list. It becomes a friendship list as we pray for those whom we love and who love us. Or a street map of the town where you live. To pray around the streets, you can go to the index and do it alphabetically. You can take a felt tip pen and trace your way around. The point is, these are ways of taking ourselves outside of ourselves to think about the world in which we live. A world where folk are struggling every bit as hard as we are. And we sometimes forget that, especially those times when somebody annoys us or we annoy someone else. Because to pray is to learn to care. Now, sometimes we pray for people because we do care for them. But you know something? It's also possible to start caring for someone because you pray for them. And that's why it's important to value and to cherish those people who say to you, I'll pray for you, or I am praying for you. Going back to my friend and her promise that she would pray regularly for us, let me finish with some words of a poem which I think say something really important about what it means when we pray for each other. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Wherefore, let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. For what are men better than sheep or goats that nourish a blind life within the brain if, knowing God, they lift not hands of prayer, both for themselves and those who call them friend? For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God. So when someone says, I'll pray for you, that's a promise which has a great deal of care and love behind it. Likewise, when we promise someone, we will pray for them, the same is true. Intercession is to love others in the presence of God. Thank you for listening.